Welcome to The Who Project. I'm your host, Paul Gittens, where I sit down with leading professionals, artists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Each share their definitions of success, past and present, how they differ, if at all, and what milestones they've set for the next chapter of their lives. This isn't just any podcast. It's a celebration of real stories from real people. Together, we'll explore the choices that have shaped their paths, the challenges they've conquered, and how they bravely carved out lives on their own terms. Each episode is a treasure trove of insights, tools, and inspiring tales to help you ignite your own journey. So buckle up and get ready for some great conversations. First, I'd like to thank you for being here and joining me on the Legacy podcast. So, Aiden, we've known each other, I believe, since 2017. Right. And we kind of met up when you were at an ad agency and you were a strategist on a large financial institution piece of business.
Yep.
And we just clicked.
Yeah.
Right. And so you went from there, correct me if I'm wrong, you transitioned into the music industry, right? Marketing at a major label.
Mm-hmm.
And then about almost a year ago, you came to me and said that you wanted to get out and get into the wonderful world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion and we talked about it. And I know that you've transitioned, but before we get into all that, and all those accomplishments that you have done, man, and I've been watching you for a while, you were this kid and now you're this man, in my mind, little bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Little bro, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So let's get it all framed up and get people to understand who you are, where you've come from, and just really dig into your life. So let's just start with family. Let's just talk about family. Like, what's your family origin?
Cool. Okay. So my father is Tanzanian.
Okay.
And my mother is Grenadian. So half West Indian, half East African.
Yeah.
I was born downtown Toronto, University Row, University in Gerard, Mount Sinai. So I'm a true Toronto kid.
Okay. And your parents were born.
Yeah. So
it truly makes you first generation.
Yeah. So it makes me, and I like to say this, I'm a true first generation, but mentally I grew up as in second generation.
Okay.
So my mother was born in Grenada. She left when she was about 3, took the boat to England. So she grew up in Brixton. And then from there, family moved over to Toronto. So my mom had most of her, I want to say like from elementary. So maybe from like 8, 10, she was here in Toronto.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So she grew up down like by like jungle. So St. Lawrence, Caledonia areas where she came up. My father, born in Tanzania, but grew up in Scotland. So he went to boarding school in Scotland.
Come on.
Yeah. So, and then he was an international student. So they met in Ottawa. So they both went to Carlton, and that's how my parents met in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we're talking university grads. They have you. And do you have any siblings?
I have 3 younger sisters.
Okay.
And a half brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. So, and the age difference between all you guys? Is it, because for me and my family, it's huge, right?
Yeah. I think for us, so me and my sister all came up together. So between me and my middle sister, there is a 3-year difference.
Okay.
And then my youngest sisters, who are twins, they are the 7-year difference. And then with my half bro, there is an 18-year difference.
Okay, well, you trump me, bro. Because with us, there's 7, 9, and 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting mix.
Yeah. The half brother was a new one. I found that one out not too long ago. So
okay.
That one is
okay.
That one's a fun one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Oh, man. So you're all close?
Me and my sisters, hella close. Building a new relationship with my little bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about your first memories, man. As a child, because that's the one that really makes you go, okay. When did I really start remembering, who I was?
Yeah. I that was a question that I really had to sit with when it was definitely playing in my grandparents' basement. My grandfather, he was that West Indian one that like if anyone came from the island, that's where they touch road. That's where they touch down first. So if you're from Grenada, you go to Clarence's house on
Okay.
Dello Road.
All right.
And so he used to have all these basement jams. And like the old schools, like the old, like, what do you call it? It was wood, like the wood from like the floor all the way to the top.
Yeah,
It was just like everything was just wood, everything.
Yeah.
And he just have bashments. I just remember being a kid when my parents were living there because they didn't have a place.
Yeah.
They just came from Ottawa.
Yeah.
And then they were living in my grandparents' house. And I would just be running around the feet of like all the uncles and people and just be having bashments downstairs. I had no idea what it was.
You know, that is a wild memory, man, because as a people, to your point, you know, you come family and community was really big.
Yeah.
Right. And you've seen over the years how that's kind of, you know, changed.
Yeah.
Not to say that we don't still love our family and community, but it was your only source.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember those basement parties, you know, at my uncle's or my parents' house. Right. And the kids are running between, the food's coming down. You know what I mean? The jam's going and everybody had this real good, great vibe, you know, and even people, you know, within the community that are West Indian background that they made friends with, then they were invited to that New Year's jam or that birthday party or whatever. Right. And, you know, my mom is in the kitchen, my grandmother, and they're cooking up the rice and peas and the, you know, the chicken or whatever it was for us. Cause we're Bayesian, it's, you know, putting sauce and all kinds of things. And that's what they had. And they loved that. Yeah. Right. So those are partially, you know, my first memories as well. So how old were you think you were then?
I must have been 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
I had to be at that point because I remember when we moved to, I had to be around that age. Yeah. When I was just roaming around the feet of the kids. And I remember going to the back because my grandfather had this crazy bar. And it was just all glass. And I remember I used to just sneak because it had like that old like entrance. You had to like open it up and close it.
Yeah.
And like,
so did my dad.
Yeah. So then I was so short that I could just walk under it. Yeah. Right. So I didn't have to open and shut, but I used to just lift it because I saw the parents there. So I was like, oh, this is what you do.
Dude, that was pride because that basement, like my uncle and my dad and friends, they all helped build it.
Yeah,
right.
It did.
And then it was like the vinyl padding around the bar, and that thing you're talking about, and it had a little sink in the back.
Yeah,
dude, that was real.
Yeah, so I remember that because there was this little jar of like Mentos treats that was there, that was at the Lure, and I just remember I used to always run down and open it up and just take. And like R.I.P. to my grandfather when he passed away. That was the one thing I asked for to keep. I actually have that in my house right now, and I have my own treats in there. So I'm hoping for my daughter one day she'll go and to open up the treats like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, you see,
those
little things, man, it means a lot, right?
It means so much. And it's just like a little glass tray you could probably get from anywhere, but it's just like it just holds so much weight to me.
You know, Aiden, when my grandfather passed away, you know, there were certain things that I took, not a lot. It was a little box, right? And it was the stuff that I remember at their house behind his bar. You know, Labatt Blue used to, you know, they used to give you glasses, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they had ashtrays and stuff like that, right? And so downstairs in my basement now, a few of those trinkets sit on, you know, the shelving. You know, then my wife went in the box, actually pulled it out and said, we're going to put this here, right? And we had moved and, you know, we're going through boxes and then we renovated the basement. And she's like, yeah, we got to put this here, you know? So there's a connection, you know, and it's a connection to your past, right? So this is what we're talking about today is really like, you know, laying down the track for, you know, a conversation that one day we will be able to look back at and say, hey, you know, we had this connection and we had this great conversation about where we came from, you know, and where we want to go. Yeah. You know, and so I always say, you know, to anybody who's willing to listen to me that it's a celebration. I will never miss you, right? Because then I can always pull this video, right? Or this audio and listen to it and realize the connection we had. Because that's the most important thing in life, right? To me is about connection, you know?
Facts.
So you're in your grandparents' basement. You guys spent some time there. How like, did you go to elementary school there, or did you guys move and then you started elementary school somewhere else?
Moved, so that's when we moved out to Saga.
Okay.
So West
Ender.
Yeah, so I'm a do or die Saga kid. You
Okay.
know, I definitely hold that. Everyone was moving east,
Yeah.
and then our family was one of the few kind of West Indian families that ended up going west.
It's really interesting because I don't know how you feel about this, but people from the West and people from the East, it seems like it's totally different, right? Like totally different people.
Yeah.
And you're like, I made a connection with you, right? You're a Westerner. Graham's from the West. Like these are some guys that I really love and appreciate, to have in my orbit. But you don't, because it's so like Toronto's so big.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't venture over to the East. Like if you're from the West, I get into Mississauga, I'm lost,
bro. I'm in the East. I'm lost, bro. I don't
know where I'm going, right, man? So okay, so now you're in Mississauga. You're growing. What is like adolescent elementary school? Your first years. Frame the community. Let me know. Let me know what that looked like for you. Was it a diverse community? Was it?
I can break that down pretty easy. I think for us, it was mostly like European white. It was Portuguese, Italian, and a lot of Filipinos.
Okay.
I grew up with a huge Filipino community.
Wow.
Filipino, Portuguese, Italian was definitely what I was around growing up a lot.
So was there a strong Black community or not at all?
Nah. I don't think I really started to tap in with Black people until I hit high school, to be honest. Like like my immediate family, obviously going out to the functions, that's where I had Black culture. But I remember like my first Black friend was this guy named Gil, elementary school. I think that was maybe grade 6, grade 7. He's from the Ivory Coast, but he was by way of New York. There was a New York kid that ended up at my school, and he was the only other Black kid that I got to know. The first Black kid I met was just like West African New Yorker. It was crazy.
Okay.
And then everyone else was white. Yeah.
So what was that like? Like, did you find any challenges in that? Did you feel alienated, or was it just, one happy community and everybody just got along?
For me, it was one of those you don't know as a kid. And like, shout out to my mom for protecting us for a lot of things. But looking back, I was like, yo, can I cuss on this? Or are we keeping it PG?
No.
It was just like, it was racist as hell looking back at it now, but you don't realize that then, right? It's just like, this is just what I know. Not knowing.
That's interesting. Okay.
Coming up, I think one of like my best friends is Italian. I remember going to his mom's house all the time. And she used to always call me Oreo. And I thought that was like, and she thought that was the most endearing thing. And I was like, oh, cool. Not realizing what that meant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like right on the inside. I'm just like, oh, cool, I'm an Oreo. Like, as a kid, you don't really realize that. Or even like the first time being called a nigger on the courtyard, I didn't understand what that meant. I just bawled. Because I just knew it was something negative. But it was like moments like that I had, but I always just kind of like brushed them off. And just thinking, I guess this is just like life.
And how old were you?
Must have been 10, 11 in those times.
So I'm going to share something with you. Very similar, right?
Okay.
Very, very similar background, and the way your community looked on the West and the way my community looked on the East.
Okay.
Very similar. And I remember being in grade 2 and and I'm in the washroom, washing my hands. And this kid comes in. I'd say he's probably about a year or two older than me. Right? And he looks at me and goes, Black doesn't wash off, right?
Oh, nah, really?
Yeah. And I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? As a kid. And, I was a small kid, I was a small kid for my size. And I had to, make a decision when things like that happen, right? If you speak to my older brother, he would tell you that he fought. He got scrappy, right? And he was in fights every day, and for me, I decided to make friends. I try to make friends and try to make peace instead of fighting, from, the custodian, I had an afro when I was like that age, right? And the custodian putting his hand in my hair and saying it's like a bird's nest.
I got that one too.
Right? In front of the whole class.
Yeah.
Right? And all these people are laughing. right? So they polarized you, right? And for me, it was about, how am I going to survive this? Because again,
Mm.
like you, I was on my own, right? I didn't have any brothers or sisters because they're 7, 9, and 14 years older than I am.
True.
Right? So I went through my education system alone, right? Amplify that with being small in stature, right? And not a fighter, right? You had to come up with your own coping mechanism. So that's why I was asking you what it was like for you growing up, because to me, kind of gets into the psyche of who you become, right? And how you approach life and what your worldview of life is.
Yeah, I think how I managed to survive that, like I wasn't a fighter either, but I was definitely very athletic.
That's the other thing.
So like I was a basketball player.
Yeah,
so I was the cool basketball kid.
Okay.
So that's how I kind of made it, and that's how I actually tapped in with the Filipino community. So there's this Filipino kid named Justin Vida. Shout out to Justin Vida. That's the homie for real. He was big in basketball, and they have their own Filipino league called FIBA.
Okay.
And so they had it down in there's intersection downtown Mississauga called 5 and 10.
Okay.
That's in here, Ontario.
Okay.
And so for all the West Enders, they'll probably know this. There was a school called T.L. Kennedy. And so there's a Filipino league. And so during those times in elementary school, that's when he's like, yo, do you want to come play basketball with me and my guys? We have this Filipino league. We're allowed, and this is the hot joke, you're allowed 2 imports. That's what they called us. We were called imports. So me and guy from New York, we were the 2 imports that we joined the Filipino league.
So how old were you?
I was, at that point, that was probably grade 7, so I was probably like 11, 12.
Okay.
At that point.
So for me, and it was like hockey was the big thing.
Okay.
Right? In my community, that was it. And I was highly competitive, right? So I wanted to, right? Like we get out there, play road hockey, man. I'm out there scrapping, man. Right?
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to, I had to be, in my mind, be valuable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I brought value by being really good at road hockey. So much so I wanted to play, like house league, right?
Okay.
Like, on the, the rink. And my parents would never go for that. Well, first of all, we're, they're at, Anglicans from Barbados. So we're at church every Sunday. When do you play hockey games?
Oh,
Sunday.
Oh, that's when I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
Saturday's practice, like you practicing Saturday, and Sunday's games, man. That's how it was rolled out. So
okay,
we share that. That's another commonality, right? You was basketball, me it was hockey, right? And really trying to bring, that thing that would break down any type of conflict, and then you became, more than what your outside looked like. Your exterior. Right. Then you became that you're a great basketball player. Right. Or they saw value, in you. So you were what? You said 12 years old? 12 years old? So at this point, what kind of student were you?
I was a good student. So, like my mom was a very studious woman, very, very intelligent. Shout out to her. She went to school for journalism. So we grew up in a house of critiquing.
Okay.
Everything was always critique. And it wasn't critiquing, and I love her for this, wasn't a bad critiquing. Like, I think the traditional West Indian where it's like, you were told what to do, and if it wasn't right, she grew up in that generation. So that's why I say, like, when you talk about your experience, that was like my mom's experience. So even though she was first generation, I feel like she's second generation in that mindset.
Right.
Because she learned from her grandparents. She's like, I'm not doing that to my kids.
Yep.
So when she used to critique us, it would more of challenge us to ask us why.
Yeah.
And so in an early age, without knowing it, I'd always have to justify my thought process.
Love it. I love that.
And so in school, that was the challenge. You'd always challenge my thought process. And I had a heavy lisp growing up. And so the school tried to put me in ESL class.
So you know what's really interesting with that, Aiden, is, I do believe that it is, that they do it on purpose. Not trying to call out the education system, but I do believe that it was done on purpose, right? And I have my own memories of that, but I'll tell you, I'll share my sister's story, and I want to have my sister come on this podcast. I'll share this story, right? Going from grade 8 to grade 9, right? They wanted to put her into a vocational school.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Which is like nothing wrong with vocational schools.
No. But my mother, like yours, right, was very vocal about this, and there was no chance that was going to happen. My sister just retired this school year, 34 years as a teacher. Okay. Right. And here's the interesting thing. The teacher that wanted her to go to vocational school, they ended up teaching in the same school.
What?
You imagine what he was feeling.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is a trip.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is, I think that's the craziest thing for me, because I think about a lot of my friends whose parents didn't have, let's say, a mother like mine.
Yeah.
Who understood the system or even had the time or energy because they're just trying to make ends meet, to be like, hey, let's, because I found a lot of my friends and peers from first generation, just like, we're just trying to make enough to get things going. If this is what the school says, this is what you should be doing.
Well, sure.
You know,
right?
I mean?
You're a foreigner, in this country, trying to assimilate, trying to acclimate yourself to this culture. And it's very different from where you came from. Mm-hmm. So if that's what they're telling you, that's what they're telling you. But, I still, this continues. Obviously, there's a generation difference between you and I.
Yeah.
I remember Jay, right? My son.
Yeah.
And when he was super smart, right?
Yeah, bro. Shout out to Jay, bro. I see the background.
Yeah.
Hella smart, yo.
Yeah. Crazy. Gifted, right? So when he was going through the gifted testing, I remember the principal saying, "Oh, don't get excited. It's only for, the really, bright children." And we were transitioning, leaving Toronto to go to Durham, right? And we had him retested there. And, my wife got a call and they couldn't believe how smart he was. They were like, he's a 99.9 percentile. Right?
Makes sense.
And they, that principal at that school was saying, don't get excited about that. You know what I mean? That he tested well. So again, God bless having really good parents.
Shout out to you. Shout out to you guys for doing that for Jay.
Like you being able to continue to challenge.
Yeah.
Right. And you said something earlier, like, with your mother challenging you guys to be critical thinkers. And that I believe is really important, because if you can't advocate for yourself, how are you going to get ahead? Right.
Exactly.
So let's fast forward and go to high school now.
Okay. Let's do this.
What was your high school experience like for you?
The most confusing, I guess, for any teenage kid, the most confusing time of my life. Because I think that's when you're trying to find yourself. And for me, that was my first time being around like Black kids.
Yeah.
Like proper.
Yeah.
So I went to a Catholic school and I was one of 2 or 3 Black kids in the academic stream. Everyone else was in the applied stream. So already off rip, all my classmates were Asian and white. So the only time I'd hang out with like fellow kids was in cafeteria time. And thankfully I was in basketball, so I got into the basketball team. So I managed to meet a lot of them there. Outside of that, we've never met them.
Let me just interrupt you for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you know any of those people today? Like, do you still talk to any of those people that would have been streamed into applied and what their life looks like today?
Yeah, actually I know some of them still to this point. Well, like we don't keep up, but like keep up enough. Like I hear what they're doing type of thing. A lot of them are still in Saga, but a lot of them took to trades. I think it was trades or sales.
So tell me about if there was any, in high school, were there any sources of inspiration? Were there any role models? Was there anybody that you looked up to?
Honestly, I think at that point in time it was the media.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Like it was like,
yeah.
It was the
TV,
sports, sports, basketball players. I was big Detroit Piston fan, Richie Hamilton, mid-range. That was like my guy. And I think at that point, that was like when Kanye first hit road. Cause was it College Dropout was 2004. So I was like, grade 10 at that point in time.
Okay.
And going into grade 9, you can pick one elective. And so it was like, what was it? It was music, arts, or shop.
Right.
And I wasn't good at arts. I wasn't in the shop, so I took music.
Okay.
And so that was kind of like my first foray into like really tapping into music because I just loved it. I grew up Sunday mornings, music in my household.
Right.
Loved it. So I was like, oh yeah, let me like learn an instrument. So I was listening to all these guys all the time. So I was a band geek and a varsity basketball player in high school, and I was going to academic. So I was really just like,
they couldn't figure you out. The kids
no, I couldn't figure it out. I was like,
hell
what?
is this Aiden guy?
So like I'd be going to basketball games, right? We were like D2, so we're nothing crazy. And then I'd be in band class and I'd do band trips, and then I'd be in academic. So the black kids didn't really know me.
Right.
So I wouldn't be in class with them.
Yeah.
But then they'd see me on the ball court, and then I'd be hanging out with the band people. And like these are just all my interests. So it's like these are the things I just wanted to do.
So you had a lot of different friends.
Yeah, I
cycle in and out of different groups.
Oh, I was a chameleon. That was like my nickname. I was just like, I used to just float around. So I was just that kid. And that was also my protection because I was a small kid. So it's like my protection was that everyone just knew Aiden.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's how you stick handled your way through my hockey reference.
Yeah.
How you got through high school.
1,000%.
So, last year of high school, you got to make a decision. What are you going to do next? Interesting. You went to Carlton, correct me?
I did.
Wrong? And your parents went there?
Yeah.
So was that an easy choice for you?
Nah, it wasn't actually a choice, to be honest with you. So grade 11, 12, I got in with the wrong crowd.
Okay.
So I think that's when I was really trying to figure out what it meant to be black.
Okay.
And then being black then was, cool kid, you're skipping class, you're doing those type of things. I want to fit in where I thought I need to fit in.
Right.
Media.
Right.
Academic didn't feel like where I needed to be.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't connect with these people.
Right.
I connect with these guys.
Right.
And that's what these guys are doing. So I'm just going to do that. And at that point, my parents were really busy. So they weren't watching because we also had my youngest sisters and I was the eldest.
Right.
So their attention wasn't on me. It was on raising my youngest sisters. So I kind of slipped through the crack during my final years. And I got rejected from every school I applied to.
Okay.
So then I was supposed to do a victory lap, as they call them. But my mom said, hell nah. Shout out to moms. And she'd made me apply for like a specialty entrance. So, and this is where I have to give my mother her biggest dues because she took the time to do research and say, well, my son's not going to stay back. Are there other ways for him to get into a school and figure that out? And so we found that there's a specialty program. If you show credentials that you do have the talent, but the grades just don't equate to that, then you could get a special entrance into school.
Wow.
And so I needed to get essentially a reference letter from high school teachers to show that Aiden actually, his grades don't equate to what his capabilities are.
Wow.
And so the two people that did that for me were my basketball coach, Mr. Zanata. Shout out to Mr. Zanata. Love this guy to this day. And my music teacher, Mr. Haynes. So those were the two teachers that said Aiden has the capabilities and the skills. And that program was at Carlton.
Wow.
And then my mom also wanted me to leave the city because she realized if I stayed in the community I would end up going down a bad path.
Right.
So she knew Ottawa.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why they both knew Ottawa. So it's like, and I had family up there still. So they just said, you're going to go up there. You're going to make this right.
Wow.
This year. And from there, I went to like a general BA program and I transitioned into economics.
Wow.
So yeah, so for university school, I dropped the ball. But once again, my mother was just like, nah. And thankfully my character and my hustle and my work, some of the teachers saw it because they saw me in music class and my basketball coach saw me on the road.
So you got in, did it immediately click for you and you just buckled down and got right into work, or was there a transition?
Transition.
Yeah.
There's a transition for me. I realized that, I was lucky to get in and I was thankful that I got there. And I met, that was the first time I met other Black kids that I could relate to.
Okay.
Because they were intellectuals.
Right.
But they also knew how to get down with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's other people like me out here. That's crazy. And so I met them for the first time out in Carlton. And that's when I realized, oh, I can be both.
Right.
And that's cool.
So would you say that's when you first really started to get comfortable in your own skin?
Yeah. So I want to say about like 18 is when I started to get comfortable and started realizing that there was other people like me out there.
So what did that take you? Did it take you like a semester or two, or your first year, second year? Like, how long did it take for you to really, start to get into your groove, if you will?
End of first year.
Okay.
End of first year is when I was like, oh, okay, cool. And funny enough, that's when, and a lot of people know this, I joined a fraternity.
Oh, okay.
But it's an American fraternity. So I joined one of the historical Black fraternities.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's called Omega Sci-Fi. So they're an historically Black fraternity, and they made their first international chapter that happened to be at Carlton.
So was this all? Wow. Okay. See,
Yeah.
I love conversation. So was this all part of you just trying to find yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just found, and how did that work for you? Because I don't think I've personally had a conversation with anybody that was, been part of a Black fraternity.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
It was eye-opening because you're learning American culture. And I didn't know what American Black culture was at that point in time.
Okay.
I'm learning the history of what it was, like the paper bag test. And I don't know if people are familiar with the paper bag test.
Do tell us.
But essentially the paper bag test is people had the old lunch bags, and they're like brown paper bags.
Right.
And so if you were darker than the paper bag, then you weren't allowed to be in certain Black spaces. And so that's where colorism was happening on the campuses.
Wow.
So there was a fraternity, original one called Alpha Phi Alpha. And if you weren't light-skinned enough, you weren't able to join that Black fraternity. So then the fraternity that I joined was about, well, listen, I'm darker skinned. And just because I'm darker skinned, I'm not allowed to hang out with these other Black people.
Wow.
And so their fraternity started off the backs of saying, well, there's all shades of Black.
Right.
And just because we are not of a lighter tone doesn't make us any less than.
Right.
But in American culture, as you know, separatism, that's what they did. They used to have people, the master having sex with the slaves. And therefore you had these light skins, and there would be the house. And so they had hierarchy.
Yeah.
And so that traditionally got into where the paper bag test came into. Where it's like, if I'm lighter skin, I am of a higher quality.
Yeah.
And so like I was learning stuff like that at that age. And I was like, what are all these things? And so it was very interesting for me during that time, not knowing what it was.
So how do you think that shaped you going forward as a young Black male?
It made me very resilient at a very early age because they put me through tests that as a fraternity I can't really speak on, but it's one of those where you learn, they break you down to build you back up.
Okay.
And so it's almost like clearing all your previous understandings of who you are or who you thought you were.
Okay.
And redefining yourself in this space that you are in now.
So you joined in year one or
year two?
Your second year.
My second year.
And so you went all the way through to you left, right?
No, I dropped out.
Okay. So do tell.
Yeah. I tell you. I can't really tell this story. That's true. A lot of people don't know. I think a lot of people assume that I second year of university, that's when kind of a lot of things hit the fan at my family home.
Okay.
And I couldn't afford to stay out there. Father kind of left the house and my mom was kind of on the ones. And I remember just having a call and she's like, can't really afford you being out there anymore, to be honest, but take OSAP and do what you need to do. And I don't want you to come back. I'm just saying, we can't help you anymore.
Right.
Because they saved up enough for me for my first year.
Right.
But second year, she's like, you need to get a job. And if you're going to stay up there, you just need to figure it out.
Yep.
And I think I made the decision after my second year, I don't like economics. I'm a numbers guy, but it's I can't do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
I don't know what this is. And my family is in a dire situation and I can't focus. So then I made the decision to leave Carlton. I applied to transfer. I didn't have enough grades yet to transfer to another university, so I transferred to Humber.
Okay.
Because the only thing I knew is if I was going to come back here to Toronto, my mother wouldn't let me back in the house if I wasn't going to school.
Shout out to moms.
So I applied without her knowing. I got accepted.
Right.
And that was the summertime. And I just called her and I was like, I'm coming back home. And she's like, what do you mean you're coming back home? And I told her I've already transferred. So she didn't know. She had no idea.
Yeah.
I already transferred. I did all my own applications. I got accepted to Humber. I was starting that September. I just told her, I'm leaving Carlton, but I've got into a program for marketing at Humber. So I'll be going to school back home, and I just moved back. And that's my decision.
Wow. So you just like addled up and said you have to make some decisions.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest year. I was 19, turning 20. And so that's when like my dad left. I just joined the frat. I was just around other like-minded Black older men. I started learning mentorship and realized what it was to like stand and become a man.
Yeah.
And at that point, I decided that I needed to make that decision. As much as I love school and there's so much more I was doing there.
Yeah.
I was just starting my music career. I was just DJing. I just started picking up all that type of stuff. But I'm just like, I can do that from Toronto and I need to be with my family. And that's what I should be doing. So yeah, I did that when I was like 19, 20, and then I came and I graduated from Humber out here.
Wow. So then you graduate. Okay, so that's a lot to unpack, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot to unpack.
That was definitely a big year for me.
Yeah. Because, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking like so much was going on.
Yeah.
Right? Not only your age, but your family. And then you're thinking about your career, right? And the well-being of your mother and your
My
siblings.
sisters,
Yeah, right? And you had to make really tough decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Wait, how'd you tap into that? Like, where did you find the strength to make those tough decisions?
I don't even know if it was a strength. I just felt like I need to do it.
See, again, I will say this, and I'll go back and I'll speak to my good friend. I call him my brother as well, Graham.
Yeah.
And I say that, in the conversation I had with him on the very first podcast is that we burrow through life, right? And we rarely come up for air, right? To smell the air, to feel the sun on our face, right? Or the rain dropping on our skin. And because we do that, we don't give ourselves that shine, right? So I'm going to give you those flowers now, right? Because I'm going to say, as a young man with all of that going on, you found the strength to make decisions that were going to benefit yourself and your family. That's huge, man. Because I think that lays the track to who you are today, right? Right? Because now you graduate from Humber.
Yeah.
And walk me through that.
Yeah. So I think when I made the decision to come back and just knowing who my mother is, you don't play. It's like, if I'm coming back, it's like, I need to be coming correct.
Right.
And she already had a bunch of stuff going on in her head. So I'm just like, I can't be a burden. I need to be an add-on to this household.
Right.
So I think that's where my head was like, all right, if I'm coming back, I can't add any more stress because then I just should stay up in Ottawa.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no point in me coming back here.
Yeah. So you were definitely mindful of what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 1,000% mindful. So I think when I came back, my goal at that point was I need to be the top of my class if I'm going to be at Humber.
Right.
And I need to make money. That was it. I was like, be at the top of my class and make money. That was kind of my focus when I came back.
Okay.
So taking the bus from Saga to go to Humber Lakeshore to get down there early, focus. I was doing marketing co-op.
Okay.
And so my whole goal was to go get back into university.
Okay.
So it was a 3-year program and it was an advanced stream to get me. They had a joint program, which is now called TMU, but back then it was Ryerson.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. This is a joint program for me to get back. Because at the end of the day, my mom's like, you're getting a degree. So I was like, this is the only way for me to figure out how to get my degree.
Right.
So I was like, all right, if I go to Humber and I need to have at least an 85% average, that will get me into transitioning into Ryerson.
Okay.
So that was kind of my goal going back. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do business marketing because at that point I knew economics wasn't it. But I was like, I love business. You know what I mean? I'm a creative mind because I was starting to get into my music bag a lot then too. So I'm just like, where can I kind of do the both? And marketing was a pocket that kind of makes sense for me. And then at that point, working as well. So I was working at Rogers Video. So Rogers Video was I was doing the DVD sales and then cell phones. I was selling cell phones.
Okay.
So Rogers Wireless. Since Rogers Wireless. So that was kind of like my part-time role all through university while I was going to school.
Right.
To kind of make money and get things going.
Right. Wow. So you graduate.
I graduate.
And now you're going, how do you figure where you're going? And where you want to apply and like, this thing called a career. How do you start to navigate that?
Okay, I'm gonna expose something. If my mom sees this, she's gonna come for me. So this is, I realized I made a lot of bad decisions as a kid, but it was just me trying to hustle.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, and I just made bad hustle decisions.
Okay.
There's some high school hustles I did that we didn't talk about, but that's cool. I'm good. But at that point, the money was down bad, and I was in my final years of Humber.
Okay.
I was on track. I was getting to Ryerson. I was like, perfect, I got this. But money was starting to get really tight in the household.
Okay.
And I was like, how can I make some extra bread? And so at the time, Rogers Wireless, we had incentive programs. So you could make extra money if you got people to get like add-ons to the cell phone.
Right.
Right. So it's like, sell the cell phone, you get an add-on, I get some extra bonus money.
Right.
Right. So there was this one kid who was also in the wireless program, and they had fake IDs. So they was kind of doing like the fake cell phone stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So he pulled me into it. So, he's like, hey, Aiden, do you mind just putting through this like cell phone? I was like, well, this doesn't match up. He's like, yo, can you just do this for me? I promise you're good. I'll give you a couple extra $100.
Right.
I was like, bet I could use that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't have to ask my mom. I could maybe help out here and there.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, bet, let's do this. And you're doing it very strategically. And then I got lost. And then I remember I got lost in the sauce. And then we got caught by loss prevention.
Wow.
Yeah. So I remember being at the Rogers and we got caught by loss prevention because they caught us on camera. And I remember being pulled to the back and this one's like, you processed this ID and this is a fake ID and you sold all these cell phones.
Right.
And so at that point, I was like selling cell phones on the side. I was that guy. I was saucing. Yep. I had money. I was buying my sister's, my mom's new phones. That was when BlackBerrys were hidden.
Yep.
So I remember for like my mom's birthday, I gave her a brand new BlackBerry. And I was like, here, Mom, I got you. And she's like, thank you so much. And she's like, and I just told her like a bonus from Rogers. Like, she didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm at Humber and I'm doing a co-op program, right? So, and so I guess while all this is happening, I'm also still doing my music hustle.
When you say music hustle, explain that quickly.
So at that point in time, I'm trying to discover the music scene. So I guess if we're to backtrack, I started learning how to DJ, like proper DJing in high school when I was a band geek. Okay. So I was doing drumline and I was trying to do garage band. So I tried rapping, sucked at it. I was doing the circles then. So that's when like Tory Lanez was in the circles. I remember seeing Tory Lanez in rap circles and I'd be going to those. Okay. And like I tried to rap and I sucked at it. I tried producing on GarageBand because I had access to it when I was a band geek. Sucked at it. But I made crazy playlists that people loved. So I learned, creating good playlists is like, you should start doing like mixes. And there was this young kid whose father was a DJ. And so I used to go start hang out with him. And that's when I started to get introduced to DJ culture. So that was through high school. And then I made money DJing when I was in university. So then when I came back to Toronto, I started hosting my own parties and starting to build up my own kind of like, what is the DJ and music scene here in Toronto? So I used to travel from Mississauga downtown and just go to parties by myself just to understand the world, and just because I loved it. So that was kind of like a music hustle I was doing while going to school and hustling at Rogers. So that was kind of like my life. Okay. All during like that time. Okay.
All right. So
Sorry, I'm like jumping everywhere.
No. This is fine. You're painting the picture, right? And that's what we're trying to do today is to try to paint that picture because, we're going to get to where you are now. Yeah. Right. But laying that track and just seeing how you get through all this adversity. Yeah. Right. And again, we don't really think about it. We just keep going.
Just going through it.
Right. And then when you're forced to stop and think about it, right? Then you go, shit, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. So now we're at the place where you got pinched from loss prevention. What happens next?
It's huge. This was a huge moment. I shout out to Universe for this one. So at that point, loss prevention pinches me. They're like, there's gonna be a court case. There might be something going on unless I snitch on the guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, damn, I snitch on this guy. This is gonna save me. But I'm just like, I grew up on like, yo, no snitching. But my manager at the time is like, shout out to her. She was like a mom to us in the office. She's like, don't be an idiot. Right? Don't be an idiot. What do you owe him? Right? Don't do that to yourself. And I wasn't even scared about that. I was more scared about my mom.
Of course.
I wasn't kidding. I was about my mom. I was like, yo, I'm about to, this is a wrap for me.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was probably within a 2-week span. I get caught by loss prevention. I'm about to go into this case. I essentially have to leave my job. My mom doesn't understand why. And now I'm doing exactly the opposite of what I came down to Toronto to do. I've now become a burden.
Yep.
In this situation. I think that really hit me very, very hard. But at the same time at school, I managed to land an internship because my final year of co-op.
Right.
So I landed an internship at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment.
Okay.
In the live event program.
Okay.
But at the exact same time, I also got an offer to be an intern for Universal Music Canada.
Ooh.
Because I was hustling. So I was hitting up all the A&Rs and stuff like that.
Right.
Shout out to my big homie, Ivan Everdante.
Okay.
I chased him down. I see him on road. So he actually offered me an opportunity to intern for him at the same time.
So what do you do?
So like in this week span, I have loss prevention, I have MLSC, and I have Universal Music. All in the table in front of me. My mom has no idea what's going on. And so once again, I can't talk. My dad's not there. I can't talk to my mom about all of this because
you're shouldering this burden.
So I'm just sitting here like, all right, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So now I got to shout out to my homie, Kieta Juma, KJ. He actually worked at Rogers with me. And he was an up and coming artist. So I used to go to his show. So he's the one that actually introduced me to the hip hop scene in Toronto.
Okay.
Because he was one of the early adopters of hip hop and he's still my big bro in the game till this day.
Wow.
So I remember sitting with him at Rogers and I was like, fam, I got this offer from Universal Music and MLSC. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm going to the label. But then he looked at me and he saw what I was doing. He's like, if you just keep doing what you're doing on the hustle side, you will learn everything that you can learn at Universal Music just through what you're doing.
Wow.
At MLSC, that is not something you can get easy access to. I suggest to you, and he's like black kid from Saga as well. He's like, if I were you, bro, I would take MLSC because everything you learn at Universal, you're already doing it on road.
Facts.
That was that conversation on that shift at Rogers was probably the day after loss prevention came for me. I realized I had to go was the reason why I ended up going to MLSC.
Wow.
And so I took MLSC. I left Rogers because my boss told me, best for you to just quit and then the case will be filed.
Right.
And you won't get caught up in the legal stuff. And then we can come up with a way for you to pay back everything. So that's what I did. And then so I told my mom that, oh, I'm leaving Rogers to focus on my internship.
Mom, now she would hear this recording today. This was the first time she will hear this.
This is the first time she's ever hearing this. I'm probably not going to share this with you, but I love you so much.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So how long were you at MLSC?
So I did my internship, hustled like a crazy person because I also need to figure out how to make money to pay back these legal stuff that I got myself into. And they recognized that. And they actually asked me to stay on after my internship.
And how long was the internship?
Internship was 4 months.
So you worked for free for 4 months?
Well, they gave me $75.
Okay.
A week?
Okay.
I got $75 a week.
Okay.
Which barely paid for my GO train pass.
Right.
To get there.
Right.
So then I was just kind of like hustling on the side of how to make money in other places. So actually, that's when I actually got into more event production because Humber at that time was looking for people to do event staffing. So like Frost Week.
Yeah.
So people doing event stuff.
Yeah.
So while I was at Humber and I was doing my event stuff at MLSC, I worked as an event programmer on campus. So that was the job I took. So I just built out my event expertise, and that's kind of how I was making.
Wow. Okay, so how long did you stay on after you were hired?
So I was hired on. I stayed at MLSC for I want to say 2 years. So that's when they were just opening up the TFC grounds. So BMO Field was just opening up.
Okay,
and so I was at ACC, and then they asked me if I'd be willing to come over to work at, I guess it was Ricoh Coliseum at the time, but now it's Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So they had, now this is a connection. Ice rink rentals. I was doing the hockey rentals. So they needed someone because they had people that would rent out Rico Coca-Cola Coliseum
Yep.
for their, I guess, the programming on Saturdays and Sundays.
Right.
So I was a part-time event supervisor where I'd be handling all of the ice hockey rink rentals.
So how old are you now?
I am 20, what, 21? 21, 22?
Wow. I've read a book by Adam Adler, right? And it's called The Anatomy of Breakthrough. And man, when I see all the things that you've gone through, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you a quote. He writes in the book, "You can only marshal so many mental resources as you strive. And if those resources are constantly occupied with the threat of failure, you're more likely to get stuck." You don't get stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm listening to this and it's blowing me away. Like every time you're met with adversity, you somehow figure a way to get past it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You see, again, you didn't come up for air. Now I'm pulling you up for air right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just think about everything you've just been saying to me. And it's blowing my mind because every single time you figure out a way to transition any adversity that you're going through.
Yeah, I just feel like I had no choice, man.
Oh, I've heard that before. I've heard that before when people say, "I feel I have no choice."
Yeah.
I think we all have choices. I think what if I may?
No, please go for it.
I think what you're saying to me is that I need to succeed. So therefore I'm going to do what I have to do to get there.
Bars.
Right?
Big facts. Yeah.
Right? And it's not coming. So when you said it the way you said it, and I've heard this before, I don't have any choice. I think, yeah, there's a lot of people that get stuck.
Yeah.
And then their choice is, well, F it, I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean?
True,
like I'm not going to keep trying to get to my destination.
True.
Right? And you're saying over and over and over and over again in our conversation that you found a way to transcend.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
So God bless you for doing that, right? Because you're now, somebody's going to listen to this and say, hey, you know what? The number one thing here is that, if you get stuck, if you get yourself into position, you have to find a way out. Like you have to look at all your options and try to figure a way out, even when it's like the crappiest time and you don't give up.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, like giving up doesn't seem like,
Nah, it's just not what I do, man. I just keep pushing. But I think for me, the greatest thing for that, and like I got blessed, is just like it just boils down to just doing the work. Because none of those people would give me the opportunity if I wasn't good at what I did.
Doing the work. Hey, it's funny because I just sent Graham a text message last night, and it was funny. It says, "Put in the work and stay consistent. Don't expect things to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Never give up, and don't be afraid to fail. That's how you get better." That's dope.
That's crazy. That's dope.
Right?
That's crazy.
Like so when you just said that, it kind of just made me ding. Like I just thought of that last night because I stumbled on that and then I shared it with Graham last night and I shared it with my we have a family thread and I shared it with my family as well. I think Jamal responded to that as well last night. So that's what I see, man.
Nah.
That's what I see. So I'm going to read this quote. Most of the time, when we focus our attention on losses, failures, and mistakes, we're protected from repeating our mistakes and from making risky decisions. This resonated with me when I read this because being a child of parents of the silent generation and immigrants, I was taught I was taught not to really take risks, right? And again, I'm hearing from you throughout our conversation is all these risks, right? So, why do you feel inside of you that you have the strength to keep taking these risks?
I don't think I ever looked at that in that perspective. And I was thinking about before coming here as to like why I made a lot of the decisions I did. And it came down to me just trying to discover myself more. When I boiled it down, it's just there's elements of myself that I'm just like, how far can I push this? What is this push? What is this vision of Aiden?
So what are you seeking then? Is it, because for some of us, we're seeking fulfillment. Some of us are seeking what we deem as success. Like, what are you on your path? What are you trying to get to?
A holistic comfort with who I am. So I think we're all complex people, and we all discover different portions of ourselves in different ways, at like different points in our lives.
Right.
So the younger me being athletic and that was a portion of me, right? I enjoyed that. The music element of me, I enjoyed that. I discovered it, the artistic side of me. And I think for me, it's always discovering how far do I take that to a point where I realize, oh yeah, this is how much I love it. Cool. What else about Aiden do I want to learn and discover about?
So Aiden wants to continue to evolve.
Yeah, I just want to evolve and just find out who I am. Because I think growing up, I grew up looking out to trying to justify within. And without knowing it, unknowingly, I've just been chasing to understand Aiden from within. And so I took all these challenges for myself to be like, well, I like this. And so let me figure out how much I like this.
Right.
And then as I figure out how much I like this, I'm going to learn and practice this until I'm sick of it. And once I'm sick of it, let me figure out what else from learning this, what else about Aiden can I find out?
So where's Aiden now?
Aiden's still trying to discover himself. That's all right. That's what, and I think that's what's kept me in the space where just doing the work was very easy and kind of staying in my zone. Because it was just me trying to figure out, well, I knew numbers. But I didn't like numbers in the economic perspective, but I liked it. And I realized the number aspect I love was the numbers in business. So let me understand business.
Right.
And so like, that's just been my journey unconsciously. And I think now I've learned to understand that. And now I'm being more intentional with discovering myself, which has allowed me to figure out my trajectory or the channels I want to learn more about a lot more like focused.
So let me just go back a few steps, because I did ask you, who Aiden is now, but let's just, for the audience here,
go. Yeah.
Let's go past MLSE and go to like when you decided to get into the world of media and advertising.
Okay, cool. That was right after MLSE, so that's perfect.
Right.
Yeah. So I think at that point, I think that's a perfect segue to what I was saying, where I get that point, I was 22 and I was doing the community soccer programming for TFC. So I went from ice hockey rentals to once they opened up BMO Field, they expanded my role and be like, hey, can you do event programming for our soccer field?
Okay.
Because once they opened it up, they had a partnership with the city of Toronto. So they had to give a certain amount of community hours to the city.
Got it.
To allow people to use it. And so I managed that in the same way I managed the ice hockey rentals. So I was doing that at that age. I was just downtown, just in the campus doing my thing. And I was looking at, and I was in my final year of like Humber, figuring it out. And I was just transitioning to Ryerson. And I was just like, oh, I could just probably work here at MLSC, the number one sports entertainment industry.
Right.
People dream of this.
Right.
You're here. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the system.
Yeah.
But then I looked at the people above me and I'm just like, do I want to be them? Do I want to be an event? Do I want to be like the head of events? Is that the life I want? And one of my friends on campus at Humber, shout out to Christine Galvin. Shout out to you. I gotta give her a big shout out. She was in the advertising program at Humber. And she also worked at events. When I was working events, she was one of the people I worked with. And so she was a copywriter. And she's like, Aiden, you'd be great. I thought you were in the advertising program this whole time because I was in the business marketing program. So business and advertising are completely different.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, have you ever thought about advertising? I'm like, it's advertising. I'm like, what is this? She's like, I think you'd be probably a lot better in advertising than in like proper business marketing. So her nickname for me was I was a suit. Like,
okay.
Yo, you're not a suit.
Right.
I was like, I'm not a suit. She's like, you're not a suit. You're one of us. So I remember she's like, you should just come to one of our I think it was Ad Week.
Okay.
ICA. So
yeah.
One of those. She's like, why don't you just come with me to one of those and volunteer? And I was like, cool. More stuff under my belt. Let me check it out.
Yeah.
And I got into this elevator, and this is where the universe is crazy. The guy's name, he's a professor at Sheridan. His name is Anthony Calamart. I might be butchering your name, but I remember I was in this elevator with you. And there was not a lot of Black people in advertising at that point, and I was just a volunteer.
Still isn't.
Yeah. And so we're in this elevator, and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I was like, I'm a volunteer. I was like, if you need help with anything, like, please let me know. He's like, there's this great program called I Create, which is to help BIPOC or young Black people get into advertising. He's like, you should check it out if you're interested in learning more about advertising. I was like, thank you. I appreciate that.
So you just on the elevator and just struck up a conversation?
Yeah, because I was a volunteer. So I was trying to help people, direct them and stuff like that. And so he decided to have this conversation with me as I was doing it. I was like, all right, cool. That was the end of the conversation. We didn't talk after, I didn't see him after that. I went back to work at BMO.
Yep.
And I remember looking it up, and it was this really dope program. It was an internship again, but it was in the States.
Okay.
Dallas, Texas, to be exact.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, let me just apply and let me just see what this is about. So I applied to the program, went to the interview process, and I got accepted to the program. Well, I got rejected, and then they asked me if I wanted to take on another role.
Okay.
Be a project manager. Because I asked to be like a brand manager, and it's like, nah, you don't fit that, but like, would you want to be a project manager?
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, that sounds dope. And at that point, MLSC was grooming me to come on full time. And I said, nah, I'm going to Texas.
Wow. This guy, man. All you're doing is just, you know what I mean? You're just rolling the dice and just saying, damn, okay, I'm going on my own way. This is beautiful though.
Yeah.
So you went?
Yeah, I went. So essentially they covered my my flight and my accommodations, and I just had to save up just for my own spending. So I saved up I think $3,500 or something.
So how long were you there?
So I was supposed to be there for 4 months. I ended up staying there for almost a year.
You liked it that much?
Well, I think what happened, once again, because going back, I learned about American culture when I joined the frat.
Right.
So they also, when I applied, they say, oh, this guy's frat.
Right.
So they saw that on my resume, because not a lot of people, and I didn't know what weight it carried in American culture.
Yeah.
And so the guys that founded the organization were all frat guys. And so they saw that I was an Omega. It's like, oh, and it's like, but he's Canadian.
Yeah. How's that?
How does that work? And then so I was like, yeah, let me just try this out and let me do it. Because at that point I realized I didn't want to be an event director. So I was like, if I take on this job in the same MLSC, I'm going to go on a path that I know internally I don't want to go on. And there's other things I want to discover. And my friend told me I'd be cool in advertising. So this is just a cool way for me to just explore that.
Right.
And just see where that takes me.
Right.
So that was literally the thought process. Wow. I was like, oh, I just want to discover this and see what it is.
Wow.
And yeah, so I was like 22 at that point. And so you can imagine that conversation with my mom. That was crazy. So I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm taking this internship. She's like, okay, cool. I was like, it's in Texas. And she's like, what about MLSC? Because at that point, she's like, you've gotten the golden ticket.
Yeah, she's thinking, damn, this my son is working for MLSC.
And
he's good.
And he's finishing his degree. At that point, I was at Ryerson. I was finishing my degree at Ryerson.
Right.
So I was in my final years at Ryerson getting my commerce degree.
Scratching her head, man.
I gave my mom all of her white hairs. All of them.
I was supposed to say that. I was supposed to say that. You gave your mother gray hair, man.
I gave her all of them. So at that point, I was in my final year at Ryerson.
Right.
About to finish my bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm putting my degree on pause. I am leaving MLSC and I'm moving to Texas.
Wow.
I didn't think anything past it. I was just like, I didn't think that was crazy.
Wow.
My mom thought that was crazy. I thought that was crazy. I was like, no, I'm just going to do this.
Wow. And she let her, so, I mean, you're an adult, but still, she let her only son, her eldest child, go to Texas.
Yeah. She fought me tooth and nail. But I think at that point, she realized I made all those decisions to come back, and I delivered on everything I said I would do.
Right.
When I came back, I said, I'm going to finish school.
Yeah.
I'm coming here.
Yeah.
I'm going to work. I'm going to take care of myself. I did everything I promised. I got into Ryerson. I went to the school.
So your word is bond.
So she trusted me. So I think that was also it. My mom didn't. I lived up to the word, and I delivered on everything that I told her I did. And I think that's what gave her the trust, as much as she fought me on it, to just let me go.
So you do Dallas, you get this great experience.
Amazing experience. Yo, American hustle. That's why I like my hustle.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm hearing for the last little bit here is that you have mad hustle, my friend. So you're tell me that your hustle got amplified even more?
Yeah, I didn't think I was hustling. I thought I was hustling when I was there, but then I was now hanging out with the cream of the crop of American Black generation. So like Morehouse, Howard,
right?
Like those guys. Those are the guys I was working with in this internship program.
So for the audience sake here, explain to us what you think the difference is, or what you know the difference to be from the American hustle, if you will, versus the Canadian or Toronto hustle.
Yeah. First off, I got to shout out the program. It's called the Marcus Graham Project.
Okay.
So if anyone looks it up, it's still functioning until today.
Wow.
And you can see what they're doing.
Okay.
They are doing phenomenal things. Like they just partnered with the NBA. So they're doing NBA pop-up shops. But like, I just got to give love to the Marcus Graham Project. For anyone that's interested in advertising and just of that culture, I was the only Canadian that has done it till this point.
Wow.
They only had one international class, and that was my class. Everything else in the States.
Wow.
But the American, jumping back to your question, the American hustle is truly based on capitalism, right? Money rules everything in the States.
Right.
Here, we're a very social, like a socialist society where we have a certain level of stability. Here,
right.
Right. We have healthcare, universal healthcare. We have certain things that allow us to not fall down on a certain threshold, right? We do have social programming here.
Right.
Down there, it's not like that.
Every person for themselves.
Everybody for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I realized down there, where I thought, oh, we're a team, we're here together. But for them, graduating out of this program is them finding a career that's going to get them set up.
Right.
It wasn't a fun experience.
Right.
They were all graduates of the top Ivy League universities trying to get into a program that's going to help them catapult them in their career.
Wow.
And so I was moving around with people like that.
Okay.
And what I realized that they thought I was a grad student because what they saw on my resume was Carlton, Humber, Ryerson.
Yeah.
Not realizing that Carlton portion was me dropping out.
Right. Yeah.
And me going to Humber was undergrad, and Ryerson was just a continuation of my undergrad.
Yeah.
They thought, oh, he's a postgrad from there. And then I was at MLSC, so it's like he works at the number one. So when they did the due diligence, they're just like, oh yeah, this kid is like, he's up there.
So they're treating you like one of them, if you will.
Yeah. You know, and that's why they put me as a project manager.
Right.
Like, I'm going to project manage all these Ivy League kids, but these kids are doing circles around me. Circles.
So how did you deal with that?
I had to step up. I had to hustle. I had to wake up early. I had to stay up later. I had to sit down with them. I had to understand how they thought and get my mind into that space to be able to survive in that space with them and earn their respect. And that was my time there. And I earned their respect. Wow. And with that, earning the respect, I was selected as the top student of that program for that cohort.
Wow.
So
good for you.
I became the Ad Color Select, which got me to fly out to LA. And there's something called Ad Color. So Ad Color is out in Beverly Hills. And so it's celebrating all of the BIPOC people in the advertising industry.
Yeah, I had no idea about any of this thing. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, connection, sitting down and just having a conversation about your life. Man, there's so much color to your life. Like, I thought we were going to go from, MLSC to ad agency, and now we went to Dallas, Texas, and LA. Like, and we're not even in Toronto.
No, we're not back in Toronto yet.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's incredible, man.
Yeah. And once again, like you said, I think in my mind, it was like the same thing that I was doing in the event space, where it's like, I got to the point when I was at MLSC, I was like, I need to figure out what I want to do. And this was my first entry into advertising. And so I was like, I'm going to stay in the States as long as I possibly can to figure out what this advertising game is.
Right.
I just need to figure this out.
So you figured it out?
No.
Come on.
So at that point in time, because I was Canadian, right? Visas and stuff like that. So I made a decision because they bought me a round trip ticket. So I canceled my trip ticket back home. My mom didn't know this. I canceled my ticket back home because I ended up, after the program ended, a couple of us decided to say, we're going to set up our own boutique ad agency. So I actually started my own ad agency with a couple of the people from my program.
In Dallas?
In Dallas.
Okay. How did that go?
It failed horribly. but it was an amazing experience.
It's a failed horror.
Facts. It's facts. We got to, because it kind of sparked once I went to LA, because I was on top. So they flew me out to LA.
Yeah.
So I went through this intensive training program.
For how long?
For I want to say about a week and a half.
Okay.
Intensive program of understanding from the top tier execs in advertising of like what it takes to make it. And I think in my head, a couple of the other guys that were a part of the program came to LA too. And so they only gave us one room and they all stayed in my room. So we had this one small room in the Beverly Hills Hilton, and we were all sleeping in couches, and we'd be passing each other my one key card to get access to places. So as I'm going through these training programs, they're out there hustling and trying to meet people.
Right.
They're trying to get into the careers.
Wow.
Right. And so we all just, it was like 4 or 5 of us. And so we're all just trying to figure it out. So I was the key access into everything.
Right.
Because I was the one that got the sign off for everything.
Right.
And so just like, yo, Aiden, I was like, yo, let's do this. Let's go. I'm trying to figure this out too. I don't know American culture. You guys know it. So you guys have friends out there. I don't.
Right.
So there was a trade-off. You show me what's up in LA and all the people you know there, and I'll give you guys the access that I got from being the number one in our program.
Wow.
And so that's when I met some of my big mentors that actually allowed me to get the job that you know me for.
Okay.
So that's so.
Yeah.
One of my biggest mentors, his name was Jason White. Shout out to Jason. He was the CMO for Beats by Dre at that point in time.
Okay.
So he was my first advertising mentor and still my mentor to this day.
Wow.
He's, I think, now VP at Aidan and Kennedy.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's actually my OG. So every time I go to LA, I go kick it with him in Venice.
Wow.
People don't know. Yeah, people don't know that shit. But yeah, so
wow.
From LA, I went to New York. I actually spoke at Adweek New York with Microsoft. So on Microsoft, I think I still have the video somewhere at New York Times. So I was on the panel at New York Times talking about.
And how old are you?
I was 23.
23 years old, speaking on a panel in New York City.
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah. So I got to.
Can't write this stuff, man. You can't.
Yeah. So it's like, I still have that footage floating around somewhere to show you what it is, but I got to share it with you. Remind me to show you.
That I'd love
interview.
To see that.
But so you can only imagine me being that age, leaving from MLSC to now being in the States, to now being around C-suite execs in advertising at that age. It just opened my mind.
Yeah.
Opened my mind to like what it is and what it takes.
Right.
To move around in these spaces.
Right.
And so I did everything tooth and nail, and I had job offers, but I was still too junior. So no one was willing to give me a visa application to stay in the States.
Right.
And that was the only reason why I came back to Canada.
Okay.
Or else I'd still be in the States to this day.
I was going to ask you that question. Okay. So it solves that mystery. So you come back to Toronto. How do you get into the ad game here?
So when I come back, I'm broke as shit. Obviously, I spent all my money. I have nothing to speak of. I'm not going back to MLS.
Well, you had a lot of experience.
I experienced. So I didn't know what that translated to.
Fair enough.
So at that point, I'm like, and I guess I didn't even think about that now, but I just never said to look backwards. I'm just like, well, I'm not going back to events. Because I really realized I discovered how far I want to go in that world. So I'm not doing that again.
Right.
So how am I going to get into advertising? So the founder of the program, his name is Lincoln Stevens of the Marcus Graham Project that brought me down there. He happened to come up here because he got invited to this speaking series that happens in Calgary. I forget what it's called. I don't know what it is, but it's an advertising, like Illuminati type thing that they do. And so obviously I'm the only Canadian he knows of here. He's like, hey, Aiden, come hang out with me at these functions because I'm doing this advertising stuff and I know you're looking for a job out here. Maybe I can connect you with some people I know. I was like, I would love that. So I go to a party with him and I meet this girl, Kelsey Cole. Shout out to Kelsey Cole. Kelsey, I remember all these names now. She was a brand manager at Revlon.
Okay.
And he introduced me to her. He's like, hey, this is my young buck. He's from here. He just finished the program with me. If you guys are looking to diversify advertising here, he's someone that you should consider.
Right.
And she's like, well, I'm not in advertising, but my agency is looking for coordinators.
There we go.
So her agency was MediaCom.
Yep.
So I meet Kira Yates, who's the account director at that point. Yep. So Kelsey Cole reached out to Kira and she's like, hey, I got this young guy. I know you're looking for someone to join your team. I think you should consider him. So then I get brought in to be an assistant media planner through the brand side because of my connection on the States. So I get in the ad game through the States through my hustle and connection there.
Unconventional.
And so Revlon, Universal Music, and Wrigley's, M&M's were my first clients that I was working on. So Revlon was my first client. That's how I got into advertising here.
Right.
But even then, because remember, I didn't finish school yet. So I still wasn't a graduate yet. So when I applied to MediaCom, they said, oh, we can't actually hire you yet because you actually don't have your degree. So I had to sign a contract with them to say, well, I'm just like, well, I have like 2 classes left. So I'm just like, the agreement was if they hire me, they have clause to fire me if I don't finish my degree by a certain period of time.
So that's really interesting.
Which I don't know if it's legal, so I don't know. But
like,
but
this
it's
is
like,
wow. Okay.
so I had 1 last semester to graduate, but they needed me immediately. So the HR, the circumvent was like, you finish, agree that you're gonna finish my Humber degree. It wasn't even my Ryerson degree.
Well, that's what I was getting. Yeah, okay.
Now my Humber degree.
Yeah.
And so it's like I was finishing my Humber degree.
Right.
So that's why mom was even more pissed that I left because I didn't finish my Humber degree yet. And I was like, no, I'm gonna finish it. Let me just do this internship.
Right.
And then next thing she knows, I'm just like, oh, I'm not coming back home. And she's like, yo, I love you so much, mom.
Wow.
So much. So yeah, so I had to finish my Humber degree to keep my job at MediaCom. So I was working and finishing my degree at the same time while I started as an assistant in advertising here.
Wow. So when did you realize that you?
Sorry, there's a lot.
You ended like your learning curve because obviously you start off, as an assistant, and I met you. You were a strategist, right? And then at some point, I'm assuming now based on our conversation that you got to a point inside your brain and you're like, okay, well, I think I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think I'm done with the agency life.
Yeah.
Just tell me what that catalyst was for that.
It actually didn't happen. I actually wanted to stay in agency life.
So then why did you go to client side?
I was poached.
But not with a gun at your head.
No. So like, all right. So I think during all this time I was in music. Right, all this is happening. I'm still in music. I love music. Yeah, right. My artist is just blowing. That I was working with. He did 3 tours in Japan. Okay, we were doing a European tour. Okay. Like music was really starting to bop, and they're like, Aiden, come on and like fully manage me. And I'm just like, man, I love this music stuff. And so this was me in advertising, right? So it's like I was doing Universal Music on the ad side. I was doing digital there, and so I was learning more about music. I'm like, this is so cool. But I never thought I could be in music. It was one of those fantasy worlds for me. So for me, I'm just like, music will always be a hobby, but advertising is something I'm actually truly enjoying, and I'm trying to figure this space out.
So are you fighting the pragmatist within you then?
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like, I can see a path to making a living in advertising.
1,000%.
And the music thing will always just be something I can do on the side of it.
Yeah, that's a fun hobby as well. Yeah, exactly.
Never really believing that you could actually transition.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly it. That was exactly my headspace.
So you transitioned because you got poached.
Yeah, that was the only reason why, because it was an opportunity for me to learn something that I never thought I could ever be able to learn.
So how long were you there?
At MediaCom or at?
No. When I've taken you beyond the ad business now. And now you got poached and you're in the music business.
Yes. I was there for 4.5 years, like officially at the record label, 4.5 years.
Did you learn?
A lot.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot of things in that space. And I think once again, the reason why they looked at me is because one of my big bros, shout out to Juan, would come to the events I did. And he's like, my homegirl was a senior marketing manager. She was a senior marketing manager at Sony. And they're like, they're looking for someone to join her team. Right. I think you could be someone that could be of interest if you're open to it. I took that call on my lunchtime when I was at Initiative. I'm telling you, I was at the harbor. I remember specifically, I was at the harbor chilling, having my lunch break down there. Wow. And I took the call with who then became my boss, Kerry Riley. Wow. Who's now the director of marketing at Sony. But And this is where I got to give you your flowers, because when I got into advertising here, right, being in the States, I was around all my Black mentors, right? And you were my first mentor when I was in the space at Initiative. And you helped guide me and showed me what it was in that space. But I was trying to figure it out.
You know, well, thank you. Again, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't believe that we give each other and ourselves primarily, you know, the shine that we do. So when I hear that from you, I'm like, immediately I clam up and go, nah.
Yeah, I know. I see it. It's like, nah,
your body language, right? You're like, no, that's not for that. Really?
Nah.
Right? But if I did that, then, you know, then I feel blessed for you to say that, because all I've ever wanted to do, right, is to be that person, be authentic, right? And if I helped you in some way, that's amazing. So,
but you are that person. That's what I'm saying. To not be that person, you are that person.
And again, this is why we're doing this. This is therapeutic, folks. This is therapeutic, because I'm looking at it one way and you're looking at it, you know, another way, and that's why the meeting of the minds and having this conversation is getting that to all come up, right, and to the surface, because I struggle with that too, admittedly.
Yeah.
Right? So, anyways, you go on. Thank you.
Yeah, no, but like, I think that's what it is. And even like you introduced me to your son, Jay, and us being in the same mindset. And like you said, brilliant mind.
Yeah.
Finding other guys who are like me, who have that, understand that hustle and that music. And I was just like, oh, I get it. This is because I had that in the States. But remember, I left, I didn't have that here in Canada.
Yeah.
So to find that, you guys were my entryway back into that space.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that is here too.
Yeah.
Sick. These are the people I need to stick around with since I'm staying up here.
You know, and of course, you've heard me probably joke a little bit in you know, this episode about, you know, there aren't a lot of people that look like us in the advertising, right? You know, on the advertising game. And it's true.
Very true.
And that's why, like, I've always felt like, you know, kind of alone on this journey, versus different industries might have more of our people, and then they can come together, right? So I completely understand what you're talking about right now, man.
And so
So you're in the music business. You learned a lot, and it was a good 4 years.
Oh, it's amazing 4 years. It was a lot of highs and lows.
Okay,
a lot of struggles.
Well, walk us through the highs and lows a little bit.
I think people have a certain understanding what the music industry looks like, right?
Where they fantasize.
They fantasize the fantasy of the music industry. I had the biggest fantasy of the music industry, right?
Yeah.
And then once you go behind the veil, you realize how it's crazy. It's crazy. There's a lot of ugly to it. There's a lot of beauty to it. But there's a lot of, you got to think about entertainment is all about putting on a face and pleasing those in front of you. Right. And you can't ever turn it off. And so as a creative mind, being put into a system and now becoming a commodity, it does a lot to an individual. And I think in advertising, a lot of people understand this, is like in advertising, we have products that we sell. In music, the product that we sell are people.
Right.
And people have feelings, understanding their own challenges. So to be able in certain aspects, I don't want to paint a bad picture, but there's in the bad side of it, it's manipulation.
Right.
Where you have to convince people to do things because it's good for business. An artist doing a commercial or doing a song,
right,
they may not want to do it,
right,
but it's good business,
right.
So there's the balance within the label side of understanding what is best for the artist, but it's also best for the business.
What a war for somebody that has a high moral code, and for an artist to become an artist in a purity that they want to put out, right? And then they're faced with the challenge of what's commercial.
Exactly. Oh, you want to make it? You want to live off this stuff? Well, there's certain prices that come with having to live off of the game.
Yeah.
And so that was, I think, a very eye-opening experience for me to be on what they call Evil Corp side. Right? All the artists call us Evil Corp. We're the Evil Corp.
Yeah.
Which I get it, because once you learn the history of music and what it is, it was just you're using the artist a lot of the time. The record deals and the type of deals they got into were not beneficial to the artist. They're beneficial to a business. But then if you're a business minded, you understand business is business at the end of the day.
Right.
But for creatives, that's not what it is, because it's your art.
Right.
It's your art form.
Right.
So you got to think of a business as this cold, calculated thing, taking an art form and saying, hey, we're going to groom this, but we're going to groom it in our way.
And it's a very, it's a very thin needle that they got to thread, right?
And not everyone makes it on the other side.
No.
Very few artists make it. That's why there's very few artists you see at the very top.
Right.
Because to understand that, it's not just you, it's your team and understanding. Because as young independent artists, you don't have access to those knowledge, right? So your managers and the people around you are your homies.
Yeah.
Your homies don't know what's good. The next you're in this big boardroom,
yeah,
all they look at is the dollar signs.
Right.
They're not looking at, what does this contract actually look? What am I liable for? What are these things? And
the devil's in the details, right?
Yeah, devil's in the details. And that's the only reason why I actually took the job. So that was my factor to change was not only to learn music, but was to learn music for my community of independent artists that I came up with. Because I was managing at that point in time, and I was on tour, and we were sitting down these record labels, and none of us at that table knew what was going on. And so shout out to City, still my broski to this day. I remember telling him, I'm like, the only reason I'm even considering taking this music job is to allow us to understand how to operate when you get opportunities. Because now at least we have someone that's in the system that understands the system.
Man, like, there's so much about you that's like so deep and so interesting, because you're pragmatic, you're creative, you're methodical, right?
Yeah, I just keep this. This is, like I said, this is my first time speaking of all of this ever.
Well, thank you for sharing it. But I mean, I'm only speaking what the truth of what I'm hearing, True. Right? It's like, you taking this on is because you're looking at it like you're playing chess. You ain't playing checkers. You know what I mean? Like, all of this is all so methodical for you as you try to evolve, as you try to grow and be a better version of yourself.
Fact.
Right?
Fact.
So you spend the 4 years, and then we're going to fast forward, and we're going to have a conversation that we had last.
This is when I tapped in with you.
Yeah, last summer.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're like, I think I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you have a few minutes? Can we chat?
Yeah.
And we got together. So, tell us what happened post, the music, working the label.
Man, I loved it in the building, but I think I hit that point, like I said, with everything else,
right?
Where I realized when you understand the record label system, it's based in markets, right? So every market has its own internal ecosystem. So there's a Canadian label system, there's a US label system, there's a European, there's an African. There's all their own silos.
Got it. Okay.
The Canadian system is probably the youngest system, right? As Canada as a whole.
Yeah,
we're just young.
Makes sense.
And we are just we're little sis to the States.
Yeah.
Just naturally. So once I realized how the system worked, like once I really understood the blueprint of the music industry,
right,
I understood where us as a music label system within the Canadian infrastructure stood in the global aspect.
Okay.
And so once I understood what that was, that's when I was actually, before I hit you up, I was having conversations of switching over to labels in the States. So I had some conversations in Atlanta, some conversations in LA, because once again, I still had all those relationships from my advertising days.
Yeah.
So I still have all my homies out there. And then once they realized I was in the record game, just like, oh, I know all the homies that work in the record system here. So I was looking at, okay, how do I go play in a bigger pool?
Right.
So that was kind of, for me, that was my next big step.
Okay.
I was like, let me challenge myself.
Makes sense.
And see where to go there.
So what happened?
Having those conversations, seeing that. And I think at that point in time, I also just had my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other factors that had to play, and it wasn't just me anymore.
Right.
And obviously coming up as a kid, I'm just like, I want to still be this, but I need to be here with my family, and community is a big thing.
Right.
So that was
Being
factor.
a parent changes everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that additional factor is what made me start exploring Toronto more.
Okay.
It didn't stop me from going to the, shout out to my girl. She was like, yo, we'll move. We're down.
Right.
There's no stopping. She's like, if you want to go to LA, like we'll all go to LA with you.
Right.
But then for me, it was just like, I'm like that, but let me explore what else I can do in Toronto.
Okay.
let me just see. Let me just widen it up a little bit more and not be so siloed and explore things.
So you decided to stay.
So I only decided to stay because of the opportunity that I called you about.
Okay.
So once again, I was frustrated at the label. I wanted to do more. Things were going very, very well. I was starting to figure out my pocket.
Okay.
I was just starting to get into my groove in the game. So like I candidly would still be at the label right now.
Okay.
I would still be at the record game right now at Sony. But one of our partners, our vendors, if you will, he did a lot of our kind of cultural programming. So he was kind of like our guy that tapped us in with like the cool skate and art culture.
Okay. I'm connecting the dots now. Okay.
So like out of home. So he did all of our murals.
Yep.
So we did those big murals downtown, all that stuff. So we started working together. He was the first guy I worked with once I got my job at Sony. So he was the first vendor and first partner I ever worked with. So for the 4.5 years, me and him had a working relationship the entire time.
Wow.
The entire time. And we built a good just friendship through that.
Yeah.
And then he came into some opportunities. And I think for him, we built a good bond. He liked the way I work. Once again, it's all about the work.
Yeah.
And he's just, I guess he saw in me, it's like, yo, this guy does the work. And he's not like the other music industry people that I know.
Right.
He can kick it with me and my guys in the skateboard culture.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he had a music opportunity. And for him, he doesn't know music like that. So he's like, Aiden, would you be interested? I have this music thing. I don't know it, but I trust you and I know that you know it. Would you ever consider jumping over? And at that point, when he asked me that question, that was maybe like 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
He asked me that question.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that point, I was exploring LA, New York, Atlanta. I was like, yeah, cool, bro. Like, I was like, and for me, it was just like, oh, that's a way for me to get into my consulting bag. That was my pragmatic.
Always making moves. Oh, in his mind, he's always making moves.
Yeah, right? I was like, cool. Like, I can make some money on this side and consult for the homie.
Yeah.
Still be at the label and just make extra pocket. Because candidly, the label when I left couldn't afford me.
Got it.
So that was also it. That was also, I was like, I moved into my strategy role with Nish. Shout out for Nish for trusting me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was starting to make some real good moves, you know. We won Cineplex. Yeah. So that was my first business pitch I got onto. And I was a junior on that one.
Okay.
So it's like, I was starting to get into the space and I was like, I'm loving this. So that's why for me, I wasn't trying to leave the advertising. I was like, now I'm starting to get into this true strategy role.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I remember it's having
exactly. Remember, and that's what I mean. That's what I shout out to you because you're the one person that I could look to and understand me in this role.
Right.
And I could have those real conversations, not only professionally, but also just as a young Black man.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why I'm just like, you are doing it because you're the one that helped guide me and allowed me to have that thought process in ways that my mentors in the States couldn't.
Wow. Bless you. Bless you.
No, bless you, my guy.
Okay. So man, like, woo.
So that hopefully gives you the transition understanding more of like how I got to where I'm at now.
Yeah. So now you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
The dark, lonely road of being an entrepreneur.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. How are you? How you doing?
Mentally stretched like I've ever been in the past. I went through emotional highs when I was in the record game, and I thought those were crazy. Doesn't compare to what I'm going through right now.
Right.
And
I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
It's heavy.
Yeah, okay.
But the one thing I'll say is my anxiety is on an all-time low. I'm not anxious. I'm not anxious at all.
Wow. So how do you manage that?
I think to your point is I've now come through all the adversity and like one thing I did during this time as well was like I did therapy. Okay. Right? I did therapy to try to better understand myself and my childhood traumas.
Wow. Okay.
So I did a lot of self-work as well. Because the one thing I realized, and I did the self-work once I realized I was having a kid. Because the one thing I recognized, and I think that's where I got to give you flowers and respect, is because you opened up emotionally to me and allowed me to be emotional in ways I could have never been in my own household. And so with that, I'm just like, if I'm now going to become a father, I need to open myself up and be emotional in that same space. And the only way I can do that is by doing the self-work. And so that's why I decided to do therapy.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good
so
for
like
you.
therapy was one of the best decisions I ever did for me to truly understand why I did this stuff. Cause of a people pleaser. I was like, where did that
I
people
know
pleasing
that. I
come
know
from?
that word.
Yeah, exactly.
I know those words. I should say.
You know?
People pleasing. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm listening to this conversation. I'm very present in this conversation, and like I said to you earlier on, like you being in the West and me being in the East, very similar. You know what I mean? Like, do you see this?
I'm seeing it.
It's like our spirits, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the universe would just kind of pull you together because we have this shared experience, right?
Yeah.
And the way we've tackled life.
Yeah.
The way we've tackled life is so similar. It's unbelievable.
Jeez.
So, man, you know, that's one of the things that admittedly I want to do and I haven't done, right? Because I am such an internal person. I'm thinking all the time. But I do agree with you. I think therapy is something that I have to explore. Graham and I have these conversations like all the time, right? Like weekly, multiple times a week and there's a part of me that's really afraid.
Yeah, I get
really, really, really afraid.
I respect
you know,
that.
And he sends me all these videos, right, about
I respect that.
trauma and all this stuff. And then he's like, you know, I want you to read, I want you to watch this YouTube video and then let's talk, right?
I respect that.
And then I get really somber, right? And we'll have like a 45 minute conversation about it where I, you know, you start to realize who you are and why you did the things you've done or continue to do. And then you realize that you have to give yourself, again, that permission, right?
Yeah.
You know, Graham likes to say, you know, you have to have soft eyes on yourself, right?
Yeah, no. And if you can I interject quick on that one?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 1,000%. For me, and I think that's where that generation difference is and the big things. Right? Like, I'm going to tell you as like little bro to big bro, like 1,000% do therapy because like one of the things that I realized that I was unloading my stuff on my friends and my friends don't deserve that. My friends deserve me for who I am. And so for me,
powerful stuff, folks.
For me to be truly present with the people I love, I need to do the work so I can show up to them the best version of me.
God, you sound like Graham.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, there's still those conversations that we have, you know what I mean? But it's like those really deep conversations that where my friends can challenge me, but a therapist challenges you in ways and puts you in a comfortable space that allows you to truly open up in ways that you couldn't. And like outside of just my own therapy, I also did couples therapy before I had my kid. So that me and my girl can go through and figure out what those challenges are as well. And that's allowed us to survive because the road that she's picked and the road that I picked, no one else in our family has ever done. So we can't look to our peers or the people above us to help direct the thing that they've never done before. That's crazy talk.
Well, you know, the hardest job in the world, in my opinion, is raising a child. So, you know, another human being, it's very difficult. And and you got to understand the you know, how you want to approach it.
1,000%.
And be on the same page. Wow. Aiden, killing me, man. Deep, bro. Deep. So listen, you've blessed me with so much of your time today, man.
Oh, man.
And you know, we could talk for like 3 hours on this stuff.
Sure,
there's so many more things that I would love to get into, but
yeah, you let me know, man. You got me. I'm an open book out here.
I like to end every episode with a quote.
Okay.
And I never shared the quote with you.
No, I have no idea what I'm about to walk into right now.
And I choose a quote where I think would resonate with the individual, what I know of the individual.
Okay.
And I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm not going to say anything, and then then I want your opinion, and then I'll tell you mine afterwards. So it's by Benjamin E. Mays, and it reads, "It must be borne in mind that the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach." So,
okay, for me, wow.
So maybe I'll take this approach, and I will start.
Okay.
Right? I've watched you. I met you at the agency world, and I've watched you go from, you know, one role to another role. Then I'm dipping and I'm leaving and I'm going to the music industry. And by the way, I'm still, man, I'm going up to Ottawa. I got a show and I'm doing it. You guys hustle, and, right? Right?
Yeah.
And I got this artist and I'm working on this. And next thing I know, my man's in a label and he's working the label. And then he comes at me and says, yeah, I'm leaving the label. I'm gonna become an entrepreneur. So this is how I arrived at this quote for you,
Gotcha.
right? Because again, it must be born in the mind that the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal, right? And you keep telling me throughout this conversation that you're looking to evolve. Yeah. That's who you are. So you set goals. Oh, I want to learn this.
Yeah.
I don't care where I got to go to learn it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to Dallas. I'll go to LA.
Yeah.
I'll go to New York.
Yeah.
I'll go to Toronto. I'll go to Ottawa. I'll go wherever it takes. I will turn over every stone because I need to know this because this is a goal that I have. So you've made it in your mind, right? Yeah. That you need to reach this goal, right? So the tragedy to me is not having any goals because your life has been so full of color and you haven't even hit, you're so young in that journey and you've done so much. That's what blows me away. And that's why, I'll go through all of these quotes, right? To try and find the one that I think that resonates. So what do you think?
I love that quote. And thank you for thinking of that quote for me. Thank you so much for taking the time to pick that. For me, I think that word goal is the one thing that I sat on when you said that quote.
Yeah.
Because for me, I guess in my perspective, it's never a goal.
Sure.
But it is. And it's like you're right. It is a goal. It's to never have that is the greatest strategy. Because I have met a lot of people that they have goals, but they don't pursue them. For me, that's one of the biggest strategies for people I feel like that everyone does have goals. I feel like everyone's scared to take the steps to even attempt at them.
Yeah, I think deep down inside, we do know what we're good at. We do know what we're interested in. But the fear stops us, right? So to me, when I was looking at quotes, I was looking at a lot of fearless quotes, right?
Yeah.
To me, you're fearless in your approach, right? But that word goal, I could switch out for, you have to evolve, right?
Yeah.
And evolution is what you're about. You're constantly trying to learn and evolve and grow, right? And so that's your goal.
There you go. That's fair. That's my goal. That's my goal is to over evolve. Yeah, you're right. That's literally what it is for me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so that is the biggest tragedy for people not to have that. And I think that's what hurts me. And that's what I actually love. And that's probably the only reason why I was like, hell yeah, I'm doing this. Let's figure this out. Because this is something that I have personally, and I'm going to flip the script real quick. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh boy.
So I remember our earliest conversations of you always talking about, I am not meant for this. When you're at IMA. I remember IMA and you're just like, I'm not meant for this. I'm going to try this endeavor. I'm going to try. And you'd always come and we'd have conversations about the different endeavors or visions that you had.
Yes.
And I remember I think one of the dopest things for me was when you asked for my help and advice on one of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, you want me? Asking me?
Of course.
I'm like, you're a big bro. I was like, nah, bro, I'm just whatever I can do to help. And so to now see you and that energy has never stopped. And I think that's also why you're the first person I picked when I came to that big decision thought process. Because to your point, you're the epitome of that quote in my perspective, where you have so many goals and you attack every single one of them and you never stop at it. And I think that's your biggest blessing. And that blessing, I am very thankful to have been a part of it and still be a part of it.
Love.
So like love back to you, my guy.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like we're on the same frequency.
Yeah.
Right? And when I say that, I mean specifically like I'm looking to evolve. I'm looking to grow. But, off camera, we talked about me being in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago and 30 years have gone by, right? And I was there because I wanted to tell stories. Now I'm here and I want to expose those stories, right? I've just found a different way, but my spirit pulled me back to it, right?
Exactly.
That's what it's about.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that, you know, whoever's going to listen to this is just got, man, like a huge lesson in tenacity, in pragmatism, into being mindful, you know, learning to love oneself.
Yeah, it's hard.
Right? Being a good human being. These are all the things that I'm taking away from this conversation today, man. So bless you. Bless you for giving me your time.
No, bless you for having me on this, man. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Oh my God.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right, big ups.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into the Who Project today. I hope our conversation has sparked a fire within you to reflect on your core values and the intentional choices that will define your journey. If you felt inspired by this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a boost of inspiration. Remember, your values are your guiding star. Let them lead you to a life brimming with purpose and fulfillment. Until next time, I'm PG, urging you to lead with what truly matters to you the most. And before I sign off, I want you to remember this. When you define who you are, you will discover the success you deserve.